Aloha! Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Omens, where we take a look at the latest omens that are signs of the upcoming inevitable apocalyptic cycle that's on the way. Lots of stuff to talk about today. It's probably going to be a shorter episode, actually, but we're going to come back to the Project Anchor and the Earth losing gravity for 7 seconds and stuff towards the end, so make sure you tune in towards the end and you'll hear a little bit more about that. I did do a whole video about it though. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the chat. Just want to double check, make sure No? You can't hear me? No sound? Can you guys hear me? It says you can hear me. Hold on, let me turn this up. Tune in towards the end. Oh yeah, you can hear me. Okay. Alright, sweet. Maybe it was the intro. Does the intro not have audio? Yep. Well, that's too bad. All right, cool. Anyways, let's go ahead and start things off with our headlines. Let's jump into some of the strange things that's happening around the world right now. We have this one. Explosions in space. Explosion of a SpaceX satellite in orbit. What we know about the incident worrying experts. So this is an omen because I was just talking about this, and I'm going to come back to this at the end as well. SpaceX has all of this satellite trains that they're launching up there, allegedly to give people access to the internet. And so I did a video theorizing that they're actually putting bombs into space. And now we have explosions as SpaceX satellites are exploding now in space. I think that's pretty interesting. Next up, Anthropic, I think is a AI company, destroyed millions of print books to build its AI models. It says that the company hired Google's book scanning chief to cut up and digitize all of the books in the world. What do you think about that? Does that sound like a good idea? Let's just digitize all the books in the world and then destroy all of them. Anthropic destroys millions of books to train its AI models. The report says Anthropic purchased the books in bulk from major retailers to sidestep licensing issues and destroyed them in the process. Like I say, it's the year 1984. Last year it was 1984. This year is 1984. Next year will be 1984. That's in case you don't know and you haven't read the book 1984. I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't or if it's not available. It's exactly what happens. It's a dystopian future where basically all of the real truth and real historic records are shredded up or erased or just changed as they use like a futuristic version of Photoshop, which today would be AI, to just change the story around, to just recreate historic records and history and actual news that's happening around the world. And they just change it all. Not only that, but we have like ancient book burnings and libraries like the Library of Alexandria being burned down to the ground. I don't know. I think it's a huge omen of the apocalypse, getting rid of physical, actual copies of books. That's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant to put my books into digital format. I like that I have physical copies of my books and that, you know, I package them up personally. I send them out. I autograph them. People know it's from me. There's nothing that's been edited or changed about it. Anyways, next up. Oh, exploding trees. So you may have heard this. I don't know if this is, apparently this is on the news all over the place, that there's a risk of exploding trees. The trees are exploding. I'd say that that's an omen of the apocalypse if it was true, for sure. But let's check it out, right? Here's many different websites that are putting risk of exploding trees. And a lot of people are talking about trees exploding and can trees explode? And for one, this is an omen for me personally because of the idiocracy that's involved. Okay, it's just a low people, unfortunately, the world, at least the United States, is just not very intelligent these days. Okay? Spontaneous arbor combustion. I don't know. So many people are tuning in. So many people are reading articles and posting articles, and people are now, even the news is trolling people using phrases like exploding trees to get views, which is another omen, is just the degradation of society, is people lying to get attention. People lying to try to corral an audience. You know what I mean? It's selfish. It's really selfish. Trees don't explode unless they're hit by lightning. That, I guess a tree could explode, but they don't just naturally explode just because it's cold. This one right here says it will be so cold in parts of the U.S. that this weekend that trees could explode. God, listen, trees don't explode unless somebody puts an explosive in the tree. If it's hit by lightning, it could definitely explode. I've seen them explode when they're hit by lightning, but not because it's cold outside. Listen, you're going to hear cracking and stuff. I've heard it. I mean, it sounds kind of otherworldly. It sounds kind of creepy if you live in a place where it's frigid enough in the winter and a bunch of snow has just dumped. What happens is the water that's in the sap and the water that's contained in the tree, it starts to freeze and then expand, which causes little cracks in the tree. And when you have a tree that's holding on to, pounds and pounds and pounds of snow that's just sitting on the branches, then you'll hear all these snapping and popping all over the place. And if you're surrounded by it, it kind of sounds like you're in a bowl of Rice Krispies, is the best way I could explain that. Let's see what this guy says on the news about it. Watch his character too. It's so funny.
Okay, by now you've probably seen online exploding trees. The weather's going to get so cold, trees are going to explode. I really hope this tree doesn't explode. This is a beautiful tree right here. Thank God we've got Luke Brenner from Davey Tree. He's an expert when it comes to trees. Are these things actually going to explode? Are you going to wake up?
So hold on. This kind of reminds me of that movie that Jim Carrey was in where he was like a weatherman or whatever. He wore like the stupid little hat with the umbrella on it. And it's just like the weather can be so boring that they have to like really have the weathermen be like on location, and these people doing these little stories like this get so excited. Anyways, let's hear what this guy says about the exploding trees.
In the morning and see 1,000 toothpicks in your front yard? Absolutely not.
No, this is not dynamite inside of a tree.
No.
This term exploding trees comes from the dropping of the temperatures and the water that's inside the tree, right?
Yep. So the correct term for it is frost cracking. So it is going to be like putting a glass of water in the freezer, and what that's going to do is the glass is going to stay permanent and the water is going to freeze and expand and crack that glass.
Right. So that's what it comes down to, is the sap inside the tree.
So this is an interesting thing about water. See, this should be common sense. This should be stuff that people are taught and remember and retain throughout their life, is what, the properties of water. What happens when water gets cold? What happens when water gets hot? An interesting thing is it does the same thing. If it gets hot or cold, it expands. So if you heat up water, it expands. If you freeze water, it expands. But yeah.
Tree right here has water in the sap. That freezes and expands a little bit. So you might see cracks in the tree, but we're not seeing these trees blow up.
No. I've heard it on the news.
I'll bet you anything there's people walking around in the ghettos talking about the trees exploding and blowing up. And people will believe this. It's like, that's another omen of the apocalypse, just to kind of pull in some more out of the video, is gossip like wildfire. People just say things because it sounds good or it looks good on the surface, and it's all of a sudden accepted at face value. It's all of a sudden fact. No research is put into anything these days, it seems to me personally. It's like researching is a bad thing. People want fast food information. That's what they want. They want a drive-through where they can just get their information and go, not have to cook, not have to prepare, not have to clean up or anything. And it's sloppy. It produces sloppy info.
First time I've ever heard of it, the term exploding tree.
Yes, it's kind of like a social media hype term, but you can, if this does happen, because this is a thing that happens, you can hear it, right? Like you can actually hear the cracking of the bark.
So I've never heard it. With that, So you have to think about it's going to get really, really cold at night. So having the sun out in the daytime, all that stuff is moving around. If it's going to crack or explode, it's going to do it at night.
There we go. Okay, Luke Brenner from David Tree, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so listen, it's sad that I have to alert everyone of this, but you're in no danger of exploding trees. The trees are not going to spontaneously combust or explode or anything, okay? Now, you might be in danger. You don't want to stand underneath a frozen tree that's looks like the limbs are bowing down, way down by all the snow and stuff. And yeah, their limbs are going to snap right off of those trees. So yeah, I mean, you could get crushed by, falling trees or trees that might snap and stuff because they're leaning over and they're frozen, so they'll snap or whatever. But there's no exploding trees. Now let's talk about the Doomsday Clock. Every second counts. Doomsday Clock moves closer to midnight. Why do they even have a Doomsday Clock unless there's a Doomsday? You know what I mean? Why is this even a big deal that you have like people all dressed up and serious looking and, like a whole, like it's Groundhog Day? You know what I mean? Let's check this out. Bum, ba, bum.
It is now 85 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight. The risks we face.
No, it's not. The world has already passed midnight many times over because it's a cyclical doomsday. There is no one doomsday, some way off in the distant future, or one right around the corner, and that's the doomsday. Doomsday happens many different times. It's the day of the dome. It's the day the dome opens up. It's depressurization from the inner Earth up into our atmosphere, and then sometimes from our atmosphere out of the dome. It's the day of the dome, and it's happened many times.
From nuclear weapons, climate change, and disruptive technologies are all growing. Every second counts, and we are running out of time. It is a hard truth, but this is our reality.
Last year, we warned that the world was perilously close to catastrophe and that countries needed to change course towards international cooperation and action on the most critical existential risks. Unfortunately, the opposite has happened. Rather than heed this warning, major countries became even more aggressive, adversarial, and nationalist.
All right, listen, I want to comment on that. The world is going to try to convince you that it is humans that are causing all of these omens of the apocalypse that we're talking about right now, that it's us, okay? But what I'm telling you is that the things that you see us doing are byproducts of what the Earth is doing naturally. The Earth is in charge of the Earth, not humans. The Earth is in charge of, the amount of pressure and stuff and the gases. I think I have something on that too. Yeah, CO2. Let's talk about greenhouse gases and CO2. You'll see articles like this that say things that are not true all the time to convince you that humanity is ushering in the apocalypse. Now, that's twofold. On one hand, humanity is not in charge of the apocalypse. On the other hand, there is a group of people, I believe, who are trying to bring about the apocalypse because they understand, true cosmology. But stuff like this, 32 emitters produce half of the world's CO2. When they say emitters, they're talking about like pollution from humans, produce half the world's CO2. That couldn't be further from the truth. I'd say probably, if I was to guess, and I looked it up once, but I think it was somewhere around 98% of the world's CO2 comes from, drumroll, the world. It comes from the Earth. It comes from the oceans. It comes from the inner Earth. It doesn't come from machines. And they'll show you a smokestack. Like this tiny little bit of cloud. Yeah, that's a lot of cloud for us to, living on the surface. Tiny little humans looking up and seeing it, around us. But compared to the whole 5 quintillion pounds of atmosphere, that's nothing. Okay? The rest of the Earth itself is producing a ridiculous amount of CO2, releasing a ridiculous amount of oxygen from the ocean right now because the ocean water heats up and it releases oxygen. There's radioactivity happening at the bottom of the ocean right now. The inner Earth is constantly producing oxygen and nitrogen and stuff. Where do you think we get that from? comes from inside the Earth, the oxygen and the nitrogen. It doesn't come from comets or space whatever rocks that hit the Earth and make, a fresh supply of oxygen and nitrogen. The Earth creates that. Next up, NASA is about to send people to the moon. Now, I've talked about this lately, okay? They're hyping this up, that it's a moon mission, and they're going to the moon, and we're going to the moon. We're all going back to the moon. There's a huge problem with the way they talk. The way they speak is wrong. They're misleading you. If I say I'm going to McDonald's, which I would never do, but if I'm going to McDonald's, I'm going to arrive there. If I'm actually just going to circle the block and drive around McDonald's, I'm not going to McDonald's. So it's deceptive. There's nobody going to go land on the moon and walk on the moon. They're trying to get everybody hyped up and making them. I mean, these articles are for the same people that think trees are exploding. Think about that. Do you think that they're all researching and they're caught up on what they're actually doing? Or do you think that they're like, yeah, we're going to land on the moon again. We're going to walk on the moon. And then after it happens, they haven't even researched it. They haven't even watched anything about it. And they're going to say, yeah, what do you mean? We just went to the moon. We just went to the, and they'll equate going to the moon with walking on the moon. You know what I mean? People are easily deceived during these times. And they're going in a spacecraft that allegedly is not safe to fly. And this also happens to be the anniversary of the Challenger explosion, which I personally, after watching the videos, that seems like that was a setup to me personally. Okay, I don't think that was accidental. Mostly because of the camera angles that switched so quickly the instant that this explosion happens, and it's very similar to what I saw in September on the 11th a long time ago with these, how the cameras it's like the cameramen almost seemed ready. I don't know. Anyways, will Earth lose gravity in 2026? A viral Project Anchor claims that Earth will lose gravity in 2026, later this year. And it sparks panic. People are panicking. Really? Who the frick is panicking? Even, I have not seen anybody. I have not even seen one video of anybody panicking. I've seen people gossiping about it. That's not panic. I've seen people talking about it because it's such an extreme, weird thing. I want to just give you the gist of it. I did a whole video on this. And you can find that on my main channel, on my main page or whatever. Just scroll down, you'll see it. It's pretty recent. NASA responds. I still, honestly, I haven't even heard NASA respond yet. But like I said, these people that write these articles, they lie. It's all clickbait these days. You know what I mean? So it says a viral claim warning of catastrophic consequences if Earth were to lose gravity for 7 seconds in August of 2026 has spread rapidly across social media, drawing millions of views and fueling speculation about a hidden NASA project and impending global disaster. I'm also going to tell you the truth about this, okay? Because this will happen, just not in the way that they're saying. The theory centers on a supposed leaked document, which nobody has seen, and coincides with a real astronomical event. But scientists, whoever they are, say the premise itself misunderstands how gravity works. Oh, I understand how gravity allegedly works. I understand the fairy tale. It's pretty simple, but there is no such thing. I'll tell you that, okay? At the center of the rumor is a claim that the Earth will experience a brief gravitational anomaly on the 12th of August, 2026, a date that also happens to coincide with a total solar eclipse. This is important because I'm going to tell you the truth about how this is going to happen. Maybe not on that exact date, but this will eventually happen. According to posts circulating online, the event would trigger mass casualties, atmospheric collapse, widespread geological destruction, and NASA has rejected the claim outright. Where? I don't remember. I've looked everywhere for some kind of official response from NASA. I haven't found one. I don't know. That's just me. If you guys know of one, put a link in the comments, because I've yet to come across NASA even acknowledging this. Let's see. The conspiracy theory alleges the existence of a leaked NASA document titled Project Anchor. supposedly made public in November of 2024. According to the posts, the document describes a 7-second loss of gravity that would result in 40 million deaths from falls. Long-term economic collapse and global panic. Some versions of the claim assert that NASA quietly allocated $89 billion to mitigate the damage. Let's see. According to an email from a NASA spokesperson, the agency told Snopes in unequivocal terms that the claim was untrue, stressing that there is no scientific mechanism by which Earth could suddenly lose gravity. Now, look, they're already lying by saying that. Okay, when they say there is no scientific mechanism, that they should put in there that we're aware of. That's what they should put. Okay, that I'm aware of personally. Whoever responded to Snopes or whatever, I will tell you the exact mechanism. I'll tell you exactly how this is going to happen. And if you want more information, go watch that video that I put out about Project Anchor. In short, NASA, okay, how do I explain this in short? In short, there is a dome over the Earth. It is made of ice. It casts it projects an image of the light passes through the dome and projects an image of the dome into our sky that we call the moon. Okay, so the dome above our world is actually the shell of what we would call the moon, and that's why I only see one side of the moon, because there only is one side to the firmament, which is the dome. Where else do I want to go with this? When the firmament cracks open, when the sky breaks open and pieces of it fracture out and explode, the atmosphere will depressurize. That's 5 quintillion pounds of gas, our atmosphere, that will suddenly start rushing up and out. It will be instantly replaced with a new buoyant force. Buoyancy is what causes people to float, okay? And buoyancy is what people mistakenly call gravity, which is just the sinking within a fluid. That's it. It's just something denser than the fluid around it, so it sinks. That's gravity, okay? Now, whenever you have that fluid rapidly rushing out, just like when you shake up a soda can or whatever, all the fluid that rushes out creates an increase in buoyancy, which means everything will float. If enough fluid rushes out fast enough, which it will, everything will float for a time, and gravity will disappear. This has happened before. I've got a few different videos. Like I said, you can go through my channel and check them out. They're right there on the front of my channel page, about the physics behind it, the science behind it. And it is scientific. This is not something I'm guessing at. It's not something I'm making up. I'm not quoting religious scriptures or writings or anything. I'm giving you the science behind it. If we live in a closed system, which we do, right? And that closed system necessitates a physical boundary, a physical covering. There is no magical gravity that keeps some things in and lets some things go. All right? If that's true, then this is how everything will float when the dome cracks open. Now, how will the dome crack open? NASA is actively trying to blow up the dome, which is, like I said, what causes the projection of the dome that we see in the sky called the moon. They're trying to blow up, by extension, the moon. The moon will crack in half. The moon will explode one of these days. The last Truth in Movies breakdown I did about the movie called Oblivion, I go into detail about this. So check that one out too, okay? But NASA and Elon and all of them are trying to put bombs on the moon. They're going to drill into the moon with lunar anchors, which in that video where I talked about Project Anchor, I shared with you this NASA's, project for these lunar anchors that they need to drill into the moon and anchor down into the moon for some reason. It's just like Armageddon. Anyways, you need to look this up if you have never heard of this. This is called Government Project A119. Project A119. In short, I'm going to tell you, this is the Wikipedia. They have a Wikipedia article. This information is freely available. It didn't used to be. This used to be top secret. until Carl Sagan, who worked on this project, accidentally spilled the beans. This was top secret until what, 1990 or something? The Project A119, and you need to think about this, okay? If there is in Project A119, there is a Project 118 and a 117 and a 116, all the way down to A113, which, by the way, is seen in like every Pixar movie. There's a Project A120 as well, okay? There's different projects, and they're in order. Project A119 it's called a study of lunar research flights, but it is a top secret plan developed in 1958 by the United States Air Force. The aim of the project was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon. Take a moment, read that. The goal of this project, 10 years before the official moon landing, was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, to blow up the moon. Okay? I go into more detail on my other video about this, so I highly recommend you go check out my video on Project Anchor. But essentially, it was a toss-up between, should we pretend like we landed on the moon, or should we just go up there and just blow it up and let the people see the explosion? You know what I mean? Like, what was the cover story? That was the toss-up. Carl Sagan worked on this project. He was directly involved in plans to blow up the moon. And what else do I want to share with you here? Oh, they were going to do it during an eclipse. Now listen, if the moon blows up, it's really the firmament that is blowing up. It is really the container that is pressurizing this world. And if that container blows up, the pressure will be released and things will float up into the sky. And not for 7 seconds, I promise you that. It'll be much longer than that. Let's see. Soviets planned to commemorate the anniversary of the October Revolution by causing a nuclear explosion on the moon to coincide with a lunar eclipse on the 7th of November. This is something that's not just limited to the United States government, by the way, okay? The United States works with Russia. They might pretend to be enemies, but they're not. They're friends. They're besties, I promise. China, all of them. Oh, and they wanted to, they were going to aim for the Terminator. So the place, right, the edge, basically. So let's say we have a full moon we're looking at. That's really a dome, okay? There is no other side to it except the bowl on the other side, or crater on the other side. So where they want to blow up is the Terminator line, which on a full moon would be the boundary all the way around the moon, which is the apex dome. So if you're unfamiliar with my terminology, we have a bowl over the earth, or we have a dome over the earth. And then we have a bowl at the top where the dome droops down. I call that the apex dome. That casts its image into our sky. And it also creates stars and the sun and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, right around the edge of that bowl, if you put a bunch of bombs all the way around it and you blow that up, then it will fall. It will release. It will break open or whatever, and they will depressurize the earth. Why would they want to do this? Because the longer we wait for the next apocalyptic cycle to happen naturally, the more pressure is building. And the more pressure that builds, the more pressure will be released. And the more pressure that's released, the stronger the winds will be. Hurricane force winds. The stronger the suction will be, and where things get sucked up into the sky, and there's a rupture in the sky, and the people are raptured by the rupture. And the worse the apocalypse will be, not just for everybody, but for the survivors, for their families, for the families of NASA and the governments and the kings and the queens and all the people who are going to stay here and preparing right now, building bunkers, underground bunkers, in places where there's oftentimes bedrock, right? You think Cheyenne Mountain is like, you don't think that's a doomsday bunker? That's what that is. Cheyenne Mountain is the biggest doomsday bunker in the United States, probably. Okay, it's ridiculous for them to build that into a mountain in the middle of the United States, and say that that's their center for operations or whatever. Okay, that's a doomsday bunker. NASA and Elon Musk and all the rest of the space agencies are related to people who know about this secret of a cyclical, reoccurring apocalypse. And I think that's all I got for you guys for today. So thank you so much for watching. I want to say, give a shout out to JP. Congratulations to my buddy JP. And thank you. One of my subscribers, JP, he bought me lunch the other day and wanted to meet up and hang out and stuff. And I had a great time and I enjoyed having some lunch and stuff. So thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you to everybody that's showing support and joining my Patreon to join all the discussions that are in the chat on my Patreon. And for more information like all this stuff and visuals and articles and everything, go to my website, JayDreamerZ.com. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.